Welcome back to Thistle Hill Farmstead. Today I'm going to show you how to clean the mixing head on our NutriBullet. There's some pretty nasty parts to this video, so be warned. I hope you have a strong stomach. We use our NutriBullet quite a bit for shakes, and the other day I noticed a funky smell coming from the mixing head, this black part here. So I thought today I would disassemble this thing and clean it so that I could see if I could figure out where that smell was coming from. Now we typically wash this thing, we hand wash it and just put it in a dish drainer to dry. But as you'll see as I take this thing apart, that obviously is not enough. And I did find out why we had what we had in here, as you'll see, and I'll explain that as we move on with the video. So first thing, I'm going to take these screws out, which holds this bottom retaining piece in. There's, I believe, 6 screws. And once I get these 6 screws out, this bottom retaining piece will pop out. And we can see already there's some goop in the bottom of here, which I wasn't sure where it came from, but once I took it apart, I realized. And I saw a spring go flying there, so we'll have to keep up with that. And look at that. Whoa, what is that? It's got some creepy crawlies in there. Are you kidding me? Oh, the only thing that's good about this is this part of the machine does not come in contact with any of the food, so there's none of this stuff is getting in the shakes that we're making. But man, that's nasty, and the smell is not really good either. Good thing this is not smell-o-vision, because you would smell it. Now these little clips that I'm taking out here, this is actually where the milkshake or the product that we were mixing in the mixer really got underneath here. And at the end of the video I'll show you how this works, but those are safety clips that engage when you screw the cap on or the glass on, and that's the only place that any kind of liquid could get in there. And there you go, there's some more critters. And I tell you, I know people are going to look at this and go, oh my God, I can't believe you people are nasty and didn't wash this thing. We wash this thing after each use. And we did not put it in the dishwasher, so maybe if we did that, the temperature would have killed some of the stuff here. But we didn't, and here we go. So, oh man, you can see the more we pull apart, the nastier it looks. And there's some more critters. I told you it was going to be nasty. So what I'm going to do is take this stuff over and clean it up a bit, because it smells bad and it's nasty, and I know you don't want to look at all this any more than I do. And then we'll continue to take it apart. Okay, we're back from scrubbing this thing with a toothbrush, and then while I was doing that I noticed there's an O-ring here, or a rubber gasket, and so I want to take that off, and sure enough it's got stuff under it also. So I'm going to take this and clean it up too, and I did that. Now we're back, and I'm going to try to remove the blade assembly, and what I'm using is a pair of clip snap ring pliers. The bottom of this has a 2 little indentions in it for a tool, and the snap ring pliers were the closest I had to get that off. Now you may have noticed that spun off in the opposite direction that a normal thread would. Normally it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, but that unscrewed going right. So that's interesting. But that's typical for a lot of drive units that spin clockwise, or counterclockwise I should say. Now we want to take this bottom plate off here. It only has 3 screws holding it. It has some water under here. As I shake this thing around, I can hear water, and that's not good. I'm not sure, again, if it's supposed to be watertight, but I'm sure, you know, you have to wash this thing. So is the gasket gone? What's going on? Why is there water in this thing? So let me pop this little piece of metal out here. I can figure out how that comes out. Here we go. Okay. And under here, you see there is a rubber gasket there, and there's a bearing, and it's full of water. Not sure why that is, but we're going to clean this out too. And there's that gasket, and that's just a little bit of grease on the gasket. Okay, we're back from cleaning everything up. I'm going to reassemble it now. I've scrubbed everything with a toothbrush and got it really nice and clean. So the first part to go on this blade assembly is this little rubber spacer here. And then below that goes this hard plastic washer. And then that unit will slide into this head here. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this rubber washer. And then this metal plate will go back in here. Just like that. And then I'll reinsert the 3 screws. Now we were really surprised again, as I said, to find out that this thing had that much goop in the bottom of it. And what it is it's where it's totally my fault. There is a fill line on the cup that you put the product in, and it says maximum fill. So of course at times I've overfilled it, and when you screw the top on, it has oozed out around the thread, and I've run it over. And what that has caused is, for whatever I have in there to make my milkshake with, it's gotten into this, through those holes where the locking mechanism is, and then down into this bottom piece, which as you can see from where I disassembled it, is extremely hard to clean without disassembling. So live and learn. Do not overfill this thing. So now we're going to put the blade assembly back in. There's a little washer that goes here also. And then this is the part that engages with the motor assembly that sits on the counter. And again, lefty-tighty on this one. A little backwards, and you don't have to tighten this real tight because the force of the motor running will keep it engaged. Now let's go ahead and put the gasket back on. I've cleaned it up as best I could. It still had just a little bit of residue on it, but it wouldn't come off, and I didn't want to risk tearing the gasket trying to clean it any more than it was. And like I said, this does not come in contact with the food products that are in the cup. Now we're going to put this blade assembly back in to this part. Flip it over. And then I want to put these little clips back in. These 3 clips at the top that I'm going to put in now, these are safety clips. And as I said, when you screw the cup on, they press down on these clips. Then when you insert the cup onto the motor base, it knows that you have the cup attached to the blade assembly. And it will not run, the base will not run without a cup on the blade assembly, which is a good safety feature. These 3 little pins I just put in are just to, they're just positioning pins. And then this just snaps right back in. And now I'm going to reinstall the 6 screws that hold this. And you can see obviously it is much, much cleaner than it was when we started. And hopefully we'll keep it this clean now that I know what caused that product to get into this housing here. Now I'm tightening these screws kind of in a crisscross pattern, and it's always good when you have something round or something that has a opposing bolt pattern not to just go around in a circle and tighten them, because you could get it in a bind. So what I'm doing is going across one to the next into the next and pulling it all down securely at the same time. Okay, so I've got everything snug down. Now I want to just tighten it up a bit. You don't have to tighten this really tight. It's plastic, so we don't want to strip anything out. I just want to run these down to the bottom. Okay, we're about there. I think that's the last one. Let's check this one. Yeah, it's good and tight. Okay, there, it's all back assembled, nice and clean. Now I'll get the cup and I'll show you how these tabs actually extend when you screw the cup onto the base. So here's the cup, and when you screw this blender part onto the cup, the blade assembly, you'll see that tab start to extrude there. I'll point my finger at it right there, and as you tighten that cup down, it pushes those tabs out. There's 3 of them, and those tabs actually engage into the motor unit. There's that max line I was talking about. They engage into the motor unit to tell it that the cup is actually on the blade assembly. So if you snap that blade assembly onto the motor unit without the cup on, it will not run. Now I'm just trying to show you that pass-through hole, and those 3 little holes are where the contents of the cup, when I overfilled it, ran over and then went down through those holes and got into that base part. And like I said, just hand washing it was not enough to get that out, and it caused a nasty mess. So note to self, do not overfill. That max line is there for a reason.